is actually pretty big news. Ronnie Harrison designated to return. So I want to start here. Mary Kay, just getting Ronnie Harrison back on this defense. I mean, it's huge. Joe Woods needs help in the secondary, and he's going to get it. We don't know if he's going to be able to play for sure this weekend, but certainly that help is coming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I think about it, when you look back even to the Ravens game and know that they played that game without Denzel Ward and Ronnie Harrison, that makes a huge difference. And I think when they have to meet some of these teams again in the playoffs, the Titans, the Ravens, whoever they're going to face down the stretch here, it is going to be huge to have both of those guys back. I think you could already see the immediate contribution that Denzel made in the last game. And I think it's going to be the same with Ronnie Harrison. Not only does he bring the tremendous skill set that he has, but he just has that energy, that fire, that sort of field general way about him.
Yeah, he's probably been the most consistent defender across the board that the Browns have had this season. And I feel bad for Carl Joseph because he's coming off clearly his best game with the Browns. I mean, he had 8 tackles. He had 2 pass breakups against the Giants. He had his highest PFF grades of the season. I mean, and now obviously he might be going back to the bench. So I don't know. Maybe it's really, this is really about Sheldrick Redwine, and he's like the catalyst here, and he made Carl Joseph play better. Maybe he'll be a better fit with Ronnie Harrison, but I guess either way you go, the Browns are going to get maybe a higher level of play from their strong safety than they have most of the season.
And maybe there's a little hidden benefit here too, because like you said, Scott, Carl Joseph had his best game. He was doing a lot of it, in the box. A lot of the really big plays he made, kind of playing that hybrid position. And look, if you go against the Ravens again in the playoffs, or there's some teams where it might be useful to have, you'll have Sendejo, Harrison. If you can trust Carl Joseph, you trust Sheldrick Redwine in spots, there might be some teams where if you can just roll out a bunch of versatile guys at safety, it could help you win a football game.
Now, I don't know for sure if Ronnie's going to play this weekend. This might be a situation where this is his week back to practice. He tests it out, see how everything goes, and he either plays or he doesn't play. But at least he's back on the field. I think he'll be back for the Steelers game and for the playoffs.
Yeah, having as much depth as possible for the Steelers in the playoffs is really, that's the target here. That's what you want.
So I wanted to ask this. This is kind of a league question, but with Ronnie coming off IR, and the Browns have had a number of situations like this, across the league, we're seeing situations like this. But obviously the league has the new protocols in place for the injured reserve list, where a guy only has to miss 3 games. It just feels to me like this is one of those things the NFL stumbled across, that maybe they should have some variation of this. If they don't want it to be 3 games, 5 games, whatever. But is there any reason that you guys can think of that the league shouldn't just adopt this?
I 100% think that they should keep this. This is ideal. So often you need a guy to sit out for 3 games or 4 games or something like that, a very short-term thing. It was probably because of COVID this offseason. There are so many injuries this year in particular. And it's really helped to have the 3-game IR. And it's just, again, one of those things that it was sort of an unintended consequence of this pandemic, that you hit upon something that really is going to work well for you. And I would like to see them adopt it full time.
Yeah, I know Bill Belichick hasn't found a way to work the system yet. So as far as I know, there's no reason not to keep doing this.
Yeah, it's just like, it makes sense. It doesn't, I don't want to say punish, but it kind of does punish a guy if he gets injured for long enough. If he's going to miss, like the old rules kind of punish a guy if he's going to miss like 6 weeks, and a team has to make a roster decision, and maybe they've brought guys back, or even when a guy gets hurt. If a guy gets hurt late in the season and to go on IR, that kind of ends his year, even if he could have come back after 4 or 5 weeks. I think that happened with Christian Kirksey a couple years ago. It just seems like this is a really player-friendly thing, and honestly, probably kind of helps create a couple more jobs for the NFLPA, because some practice squad guys will get opportunities and things like that.
It's been tremendous. I mean, Nick Chubb has been on IR. Kadero Hodge has been on IR. Ronnie Harrison. I mean, it's just been very, very useful.
I think this goes hand in hand with expanding the practice squad too. Having those extra guys there and knowing that you can, you're going to have maybe more people on IR over the course of a season than you normally might. Having that extra pool of players, helps teams out.
Yeah, it feels like the NFL has kind of stumbled across something, almost like the Browns honestly kind of stumbled into trading for Ronnie Harrison. That to bring this back. That probably doesn't happen if Grant Delpit doesn't get hurt. And now maybe you've got a potential safety backfield for, a few years. A
I
couple
think
young
so.
guys back there.
I think so. I think that ideally they feel as though they've hit upon their safety duo for the next how many ever years, long term. And I think they're really, really excited about that. I think they feel like they're really in good shape with the size, the speed, the skill set. Of course, you need Grant Delpit to come back healthy from the ruptured Achilles, but I think, the chances of that are pretty good. So if that happens, they're in terrific shape. And I think that was one of the best trades that was made throughout this entire league year.